Guys, welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, I want to cover a very important topic. Now, first of all, if you're actually watching this on YouTube, I've ripped down the things that were on the wall because they were pissing me off. They were a bit annoying. They didn't really look that great, but I do need to put something on here that just adds a bit of depth because I don't like looking at a white background. So I am very aware of that. If any of you have any ideas, head on over to Isaac J. Lewis on Instagram and send me your ideas. I would love some inspiration about what to put there. But anyway, enough of my interior design. What I want to talk about, or lack of interior design, what I want to talk about today is, do you ever feel that you are constantly struggling? That you are always going round in circles? You might make progress for a bit, then you slip back to old ways. And then you make a bit more progress, but then you just slip back straight to where you are. If you've ever felt like that, then this is going to be really, really useful. And I want to talk about how you can go from struggling to mastery. And when I say mastery, just actually feeling like you're progressing and really feeling like joyous and enjoying what you are doing, whether that's focusing on improving your nutrition, your diet, your training, your body composition, or whether that's actually just developing your life management, your career, your business, whatever it is you're focusing on. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you feel that you are struggling, that you are always going around in circles, this is something really, really important to understand. If you only ever engage with something when there's a problem, there will always be a problem. Okay, listen to that again. If you only ever engage with something when there's a problem, there will always be a problem. The reason this happens is, and I want to explain a little bit around what I mean there, is that if you feel something uncomfortable, okay, and I'll give you a few examples in a minute, but if you feel something uncomfortable that you know isn't working for you, that drives you to take action and do something about it, you will get back, say if you're getting positive results, you will get back to a point that starts to feel more comfortable, okay? And then it feels okay. The reason you will be struggling is because if at that point when that urgency is taken away and you're feeling a bit more comfortable again, the problem most people have and the mistake they make is that they just stop doing what they were doing. And then they kind of revert back to their old selves. The reason you will always struggle if you do that is because you're not ever investing enough time or energy into what you are focusing on over time for it to actually grow. Imagine there's like a graph here, and this is kind of your level of comfort right in the middle. Anything that slips below that line, you are starting to feel uncomfortable, okay? It'll just be a little bit uncomfortable to start, but then the more uncomfortable you get, the more glaringly obvious you're going to actually feel it. And at a certain point, it'll all be relative to you as an individual. But at some point, you will get so uncomfortable, you're like, fuck this, I need to do something about it, okay? Most people will do something there, okay? We all will have that threshold. But then if you only engage in positive behaviors to get you back to a point of comfort and then you stop because you now feel comfortable and there's no urgency telling you to carry on doing it, that is how you're going to always keep struggling, because you're not ever investing enough time and energy into mastering what it is you're trying to do to go over and above that point of comfort and actually get your level of comfort and where you feel happy to grow over time. It's just kind of like investing money, right? I don't know if anyone here has like a stocks and shares ISA, but like you keep investing money each month into it and hopefully it's going to grow over time. If you stop investing in something, like investing energy, investing money, but most importantly, your effort and focus, if you stop investing it, it cannot grow, okay? It just cannot grow. You can grow a little bit if you invest something, but if you invest nothing, no time, no energy, as soon as you feel comfortable again, you can't ever get it to grow past that point. I hope that kind of makes sense. But I want to share with you a few examples so you can actually like understand this principle in action in certain examples. First one, say body composition. If you are feeling like, oh, I really want to work on my body composition and like change the shape of my body, my health and my fitness, you might have a certain event or something that kind of triggers it. You might go to put on, you might be going out and you're trying to find something to put on. You put on a pair of jeans or a top and you're like, oh my God, this is super tight. Okay, that's like a moment that just like reminds you, I feel fat and I feel out of shape. Okay, not a nice place to be, a kind of a triggering event for us. That then triggers a thought of, right, that's the problem. So I need to diet and I need to train hard. Okay, that's the struggle. Okay, you've gotten to that point of discomfort. Are you trying on the thing, realizing it doesn't fit you? And you realize, right, I need to put in some work to get myself back to a point of comfort. When you get back, you fit back in it. Maybe you train hard for 4 weeks, you do dry January, or you like stop drinking, you just stop any unhelpful behaviors, anything like that. You go cold turkey and you're like, right, I've been really good. I'm now feeling comfortable again. I'm going to celebrate. I deserve a treat. And then you actually go back out and maybe have a drink and just slip back into what you were doing previously. And then you don't actually build on it. Pardon me. You might deserve a treat. And then if you go into that mindset and slip back into that mentality, that is going to lead back to struggle. And that you're just constantly on this wheel of, I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to do something really drastic about it. You get back to a point where you feel comfortable, I'm going to do nothing again. I just take my foot completely off the gas. Okay? That you are always going to struggle if you keep doing that. Another example, you might come home late, you might have a long day at work, and your partner might say something, you've both had a crap day, that might then lead to an argument. Okay, you're both tired, whatever's caused it leads to an argument. You fall out, right? You go away, have some space, you then make up, and that's it. Okay, and then you're okay, you carry on as normal, like nothing happened, until it happens again. The reason it will then happen again, more than likely, is because you have not actually created any space to invest time and energy into solving what caused it in the first place. Once you've gotten back to that comfortable spot where you're friends again, you stop. You stop communicating. Okay, so you're only ever communicating when there is a problem. Okay, I hope those examples kind of help you clarify it. But the reason this is a big issue is because you begin to associate whatever you are focusing on there in the moment with a negative. If the only time you ever engage in training, looking after yourself and eating well is when you feel incredibly uncomfortable, you're always going to associate it with a negative because you feel gross. Oh God, I need to diet and I need to train. And this is a huge one, especially with a lot of clients that I work with. They don't realize this is the problem at the start, but it's very, very common in that example there around the argument. If you argue and fall out, and don't get me wrong, I fall out with my partner, I'm not a robot and I'm not perfect by any means, but what I am and what we are very good at and what we're really trying to develop and has made our relationship incredibly stable and strong, and we argue a hell of a lot less, is because we create a space when we're not in a bad place to communicate. Okay, we actually create space and we still invest time and energy into it, communicating what do we need, what's going on in our worlds, like how are we feeling, what do we need from each other. We do that when there's not a problem. Okay, we continue to do it. And the amazing thing about that is that we then have less arguments because we are doing it. We are actually growing past that point of comfort, if that makes sense. And yeah, so when you do it, if you only, communicate or engage in helpful activities when there's a problem, like when you get back to that point of comfort, the urgency of that pain and discomfort goes away. Okay, it actually goes away. And in order for you to continue growing and actually get to that point of more mastery and stop struggling and being on that hamster wheel, you have to have quite a high level of discipline and self-awareness to continue putting in energy and effort and work into what you want to focus on past that point of comfort. If you're listening to this now, have a little think about what it is that you want to focus on. You might be listening to this and you might have a physique goal, a fat loss goal, a performance goal, or even just a consistency goal with your training, consistency with being on top of things in your life and actually not, being last minute and reactive and ignoring people. Okay? If you have an issue, have a little think. Do you continue to work on it even when you're in a good place? Really important question to ask yourself. So I hope you found that quite useful. Like, if you are constantly struggling and you're going, oh, I'm uncomfortable, so I need to bring it back, but then you stop, have a think. Do you just revert back to old behaviors that you know aren't serving you, but because they're easy and habitual, you're not actually putting in effort to change past that point where you actually feel comfortable again? And if you are actually getting to a point where you feel that you're consistently making progress, you are getting to more of that mastery stage, okay? And absolutely hats off to you, but it's a hard thing to get to. And the only way you can get there with whatever you are focusing on is if you continue to put in effort and create space for you to actually think and engage in it when you are feeling in a good place. And here's how it's incredibly powerful around like what that can do for you when you do it. Because like I said earlier, if you only engage in something when there's a problem, you associate it with a negative. But when you actually get back to a point of comfort where, you know what, things are going okay, that's actually all right. If you then continue to invest time and energy into it then, whilst in a good headspace, that is when you can consistently start to see progress across the long term. And you are then going to associate, let's just take training and nutrition, which is massive ones that I work on with clients. You then begin to associate that with a positive. Rather than you actually getting away from a negative, oh God, I'm so uncomfortable with my body, I just need to do something about it. You actually get to a point, you know what, it's okay, but I'm going to turn around now, and rather than looking in the rear view mirror of that is so uncomfortable behind me, I'm getting away from that, you turn around and you look at what's in front of you and you think, wow, actually, that's exciting. That is positive. And you start to associate all this work that you're doing into yourself with a positive. And that is an incredibly powerful shift to get to. And at that point, as soon as you start to make that shift, that is when life gets very, very good and you stop struggling all the time. Okay, and you stop going round in circles. I like to call it operating from, instead of a place of pain, you start operating from a place of passion. You're actually doing it to chase the positive benefits. Me, for example, I used to be, the thing that drove me to wanting to master and work on myself was I used to burn myself out all the time. I had ridiculously high expectations all the time. That meant I was very all or nothing. I was super skinny and I really wanted to build muscle to improve my confidence, everything like that. And I just had a brain fart. Where was I? I've lost my trail of thought. Literally can't remember what I was talking about. But anyway, I'm going to try and bring it back anyway. See, I'm human. But I continued to put in the work. That's what I was talking about. I was in a bad place, and that initial pain drove me to put the work into myself. But I actually got myself to a point where I was like, oh, actually things are going okay. And at that point, I really started chasing and trying to be okay with the success that I was feeling. I actually feel comfortable now. The stress has gone, and it felt weirdly a little bit uncomfortable that I was starting to feel more comfortable. But I now could not, if I did not add value to people's lives, like i.e. do this podcast. No one's forcing me to do this. I'm doing this out of choice. If I was not looking after myself and training regularly, eating good quality food, delivering value to people, self-reflecting, checking in with myself about how I feel, and setting goals and working towards something, those are all positive things. And if I wasn't doing that, I would really not feel comfortable. Okay, so my level of comfort has really risen over time, if that makes sense. But I suppose to sum up this, I don't know if you know, obviously my little brain fart there, this one is literally a lot more off the cuff and just some of my thoughts at the moment. So do let me know if you enjoy this as well. The only way you can consistently make progress with something is if you continue to engage in it whilst you're in a good place. You cannot only ever engage with something when there's a problem, because if there is, you will associate it with a negative, and as soon as you start feeling comfortable again, you will stop. You have to invest enough time, enough energy, enough of your focus over time to actually get it to grow. And when I say grow, I mean progress, build, actually improve over time. So, guys, I hope that was useful. Just to sum up, if you're struggling, if you aren't sure, am I struggling? Have I actually reached a bit of mastery? I suppose the main way to distinguish it is if you're struggling, you go kind of from feast to famine. You are doing okay, and then you just fall back off a cliff again. When you get to the point of mastery, there is, and it's not like an end destination, it's like just continual improvement. There's an element of joy to it. You actually enjoy showing up and putting in the work. Like you begin to disassociate from always having to be struggling, and there is joy within it. Like, just using myself as an example here, there is joy within having a project, being able to be of value to people, doing this podcast, putting work into myself. There is joy to all of it. Not every day, like I'm not a robot. There are a lot of days where I don't want to show up and do it. I think on my last episode, I was recovering from a hangover after a stag do. There are times when you don't want to do it, but on the whole, it shouldn't always have to feel hard. Not everything you do has to be really, really hard. You can get fantastic results by doing stuff that is actually quite enjoyable. And at that point, that's when you know you're really starting to step into this more of a mastery, and you're really onto something. You're really onto something that's actually going to improve your way of life. So, guys, I hope you found that really useful. More off the cuff from myself today, but again, I'm really enjoying these podcasts, and again, I'm loving the feedback from all of you guys. So if you do have more feedback, I always appreciate your messages, and do drop me a message over at Isaac J. Lewis on Instagram. That would be absolutely incredible. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed that. Hope you've taken a ton of value, and I'll see you in the next episode.